The beloved of the human soul. One morning we climbed the highest peak of the mountain with the Master, and from there we could see the distant mountains in the early dawn sky. We recognized some peaks and greeted them as good friends. We felt close to them and were thankful for their presence. The valleys were covered by a mist which hid the land, and here above, the summit shone in the clear sky, illuminated by the first rays of the sun. From out of this stillness, one brother asked, "Master, what does the human spirit seek and long for in its most sacred strivings?" The Master answered, "It is God, the purpose of life which we seek. At present, everyone in the world is searching for something. What is it they are searching for? God, the great cause of life. Life originates from God. God dwells within every living being. You have a thought? God is within that thought. There is something that man is searching for. He has only one aspiration. He searches here, he searches there. He searches continuously, in one lifetime, in another lifetime, for his ideal. Man seeks God. The beloved one of the human soul is God. God. This is the intrinsic longing of the human soul. When someone experiences suffering and adversity, this is a striving of the soul to expand and to see God. And when the soul sees him, she will be ready for all forms of sacrifice. The Master was leaning on a rock. He continued, "This rock upon which I now lean has waited 1,000 years for this moment. Man waits for years as well for a visitation from God. What is it that a person searches for in this world? For God. Whether or not he is cognizant of this, that is another question. Whenever you desire to find God, you need to elevate your thoughts and feelings and attune your radio receiver in order to make contact with the sublime world. Do you think that if the image of God enters into your soul, that it will not produce a great change within you? When a person is searching for love, in reality, he is striving for God. All embark on the quest for this sacred image. You ask, why do people love one another? This love, which occurs between two people, is an expression of that fundamental love which exists between God and the human soul. And yet, when the soul descends to earth, it does not awaken immediately and cannot comprehend its primary love relationship and will therefore express its love toward whomever. You are permitted to love anyone, but the consequences of such love will differ according to the object of your love. If you love a horse, your love will have a certain result. If you love a fruit tree, your love will have a different result. However, when you love God, the results of this love will be completely different from your other expressions of love. Man needs to employ all of his aspirations that he may see God. You tell someone, "I would like to eat." This means that you need to find God within your food. 30 minutes spent with God is more valuable than 1,000,000 years without him. God's love for us is like the mist which comes from the ocean, and our love for God is like the river which must return to the ocean. If nothing comes from the ocean, the rivers will dry up. And conversely, every river needs to go to the ocean to become saline. By the phrase, become saline, I refer to that essential balance within man. First, man needs to learn to drink from a pure wellspring. The person who becomes addicted to alcohol believes that he cannot live without wine. One can live without wine, but not without water. It is possible to live without human love, but not without divine love. You need to think about God as the most magnificent, the greatest being in the cosmos. And by continuously thinking about him, he will eventually reveal himself to you. The solution to this matter is to be found in love. Faust presented a partial solution to this issue. Faust found fulfillment by working for the good of humankind. He never came to the ideal of working for God. In the social context, one works for the good of society, for the good of humankind. Yet in the divine, one works because of his love for God. Faust did not attain this level of comprehension. Love for God is a science for the sublime beings. This is the great path on which they have tread. The one who loves the Great One, the great creative cause, and the creation, when he goes to the invisible world, he will have access to all places. I desire that all of you would fall in love with God, and in such a way that your houses will start to burn at all four corners, and your hearts will be filled with love toward him. All flowers, all well springs, all celestial bodies, they know where your beloved is. Love them, and only then they shall show you where he dwells. They know him, and so begin to love them. Love for God is that essential mystical experience which some will resolve in one way, others in another way. Earthly existence is significant for one reason alone: coming to know God. The human soul abides in him. Man dwells in divine love, in the love toward the Infinite One who makes himself manifest throughout the universe. Do not believe that you can achieve the great without God. Greatness is only achieved with divine assistance. When you come to love God, your face will become illuminated. When we love God, we are in paradise. When we begin to doubt him, this is being in hell. There you will find misery, darkness, frustration, and suffering will pursue your every step. At the moment you are in paradise, make every effort to avoid error, that God will not ask you to leave. When you deny God, suffering will come. And yet, when you begin to have faith in him, all suffering will vanish. It is possible to live without suffering. When you come to love God with all of your mind, heart, soul, and will, and in such a way that you begin to work mindfully to transform suffering into joy. Otherwise, you will remain in a transient existence and will fail to attain what you desire. You will grow old prematurely. It is said, "I will not let you see decay." At this point, there's a footnote that reads, "See also John 10, verse 28, and I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand." This is the experience of the one who loves God. If you have love for God, he will visit you, and your life will improve. If you have been ill, you will recuperate. If you have experienced deprivation, everything will be supplied. You will live in abundance. If you were to pass through fire, you shall not burn. All doors will be opened for you. Someone tells you, "I do not want to suffer any longer." Begin to love God and everything will come to you. Blindness and deafness will be no more, and all your affairs will be put in order in a wondrous way. When love abides in you, all will come to your aid. Where love is, there the mother is also. The opposite holds true. Where love does not dwell, the mother is absent. A law states, when you love God with all your mind, heart, soul, and will, you will then be in harmony with all of the cosmos, and because of this, you will be able to draw upon the energy of all the cosmos. This energy will renew and uplift you. The one who loves the Great One will be given everything which he asks for. He will be surrounded by kind people, and all will be good to him. If he is a farmer, the fruitfulness of his land will increase. He will receive all bounties. However, the one who does not have love toward the Great One does not receive any bounties, which is to say, he is not able to perceive them. All people desire to be accepted and loved by others. As long as that is their desire, they will suffer. If you desire to be accepted and loved, you must first have love for God. Only this person who has love for God has character. Only he is outstanding. I call this one who loves the infinite the true human being. It is this love which determines him as a human being. Then you will blossom and emit a sublime fragrance. Only then will you be that wellspring whose flow is never ending. When you love the Infinite One, only then will you enter into freedom. The love for God is centered in the upper part of the head. This center is called the 1,000-petaled lotus. It has not yet blossomed. Until it does, you cannot comprehend your existence. Address your thoughts toward this center that it may blossom. If you do not have love for God, you will remain bitter, angry, and always discontent. You will remain immersed in the coarse elements of life. With the love for God, you will draw to yourself the forces of the universe. They will give the conditions for your gifts to manifest. Do people today love each other? Their love is illusory, that is to say, transitory. I speak about the majority of people. Their love is based upon their feelings, but they are not mature enough to have love for God. Love for God. This is a new idea. The idea began to permeate humankind from the time of the prophets, but it is still in its infancy. Love for God is not given without effort, and yet it will be gradually attained. It is necessary to build the following 4 bonds. The first bond is from God toward man. The second bond is from man toward God. That is to say, from the created toward the Creator. The third, from man toward man. The fourth bond, and the most sublime, is from God toward God. What is the significance of the fourth bond? It signifies the following: being able to see God within myself and within you as well. When you find God, you will find all people as well. We need to have love for God that we may learn to love other beings as well. When you attain love for the Infinite One, you will then see the most beautiful countenance in whomever you look at, the likes of which you have never seen before. From within this person, there will be a manifestation of kindness and intelligence. Love for God is the harvest that we need to reap. This is the foundation for the new culture. You cannot be genuinely fulfilled until you have love for God. By this, I understand to mean love for the whole of creation and all living beings. Coming to know God. Sometimes a person needs to come out of the dense aura of the big city and climb high to submerge himself in the pure world of the mountains. Only here can certain questions arise and be answered. Otritsa is a modest peak of the Vitisha mountain, solitary, pure, and hardly visible among the high mountain meadows. The peak is surrounded by beautiful clearings filled with fresh grass, flowers, and the fragrance of junipers. Scattered among these are small groups of fir trees and silver birch. Often we came here with our beloved master and sat among the rocks on the peak as we contemplated upon the peace of the mountain and talked. On one occasion the master said, "The thought of God must be foremost for all people. In order to come to know this, all need to have one idea alone. And yet, when it comes to worldly things, each may think as he wishes. At least once in your lifetime, you should have this experience, to come to know God. In reality, God is the most known and the most unknown being in the world. The bread you are eating, God is hidden within it. The water you are drinking, God is hidden within it. God is also hidden within the air and within the light. We have a great task in front of us, to come to know God. When a person comes to know God, he will be illuminated with such a light that he will be ready to offer true sacrifice. If you think that in a few thousand years you will find and come to know God, you are deluded. Even more so, if you think that you can find and come to know God in 10 to 20 years. The angels who are so intelligent, they do not yet know him in full. The coming to know God is an eternal, continuous process. All will study and will study eternally as to how to come to know God in his infinite love, wisdom, and truth. Even the divine beings, when they come near to God, they feel like little children who do not know anything. The beauty of life is in the uncomprehended things. Which are the uncomprehended things? The great ones. In order to come to know God, we need to sacrifice everything for him. The one who comes to know God will begin with a new science, education, and culture, such as the world has not imagined. For a human being to come to know God, not only one eternity is necessary, but a few. To be not interested in God means to not be interested in the lessons you are being taught. That is to say, to skip classes from school. Everyone who does not draw closer toward the sublime in the world loses, and he who loses subjects himself to great sufferings. The law states, you cannot come to know God if you do not love him. Eradication of the old. Material culture creates the forms and goods, but it remains fruitless and meaningless if people do not realize the laws of the eternal life. Once, when a question about the new culture arose, the master said, "A new wave is coming from out of the cosmic space, the wave of divine love. It is also called the wave of fire. This wave has powerful vibrations which not every human being can endure. It has been said for this reason that God is an all-consuming fire. Those who are ready to withstand the vibrations of this wave and receive this wave will become luminous. Yet for those who cannot bear them, it will be a fire which will either consume them or will cause them to pass through great suffering. This will prepare them to awaken and receive love. For this reason, this wave of love which is coming is also called the divine fire. Everything old and impure will burn in it. After humankind passes through this divine fire, the kingdom of God will come to earth. I say, when the fire of love comes, some people will become luminous, but others will burn, will pass through repentance. Today you find yourselves in a great phase of life. Not too much time will pass before you find yourselves passing through the fire. This will be in your lifetime. This wave of fire will soon pass over the world and purify it. All human thought and desires will pass through this fire and become purified in the most perfect way. The great life will enter you, and you will become transformed. As the smith places the iron in the fire in order to refine it, so too the great sentient world will pass us through the fire so that we can be purified and tempered. Those beings which descend from above say, "We will turn the earth on its head and will chase away evil from it. Evil will not attempt to come among you again." The great destruction which occurs today is due to this great life which is coming now. If people do not accept Christ voluntarily, the contemporary culture will pass through fire 7 times, but in the end, it will be purified and renewed. The wave of fire will pass through the minds of all people. You all will pass through this divine fire. You will free your souls and be liberated from bondage. If people do not awaken and arise, all the blankets in which they were wrapped will burn. Everything which one has created will burn and turn into ashes and dust. What I am speaking of is the coming of the day of the Lord. I say now, we are in the day of the Lord. Only a half hour remains before the last train leaves. Woe to those who have not yet managed to settle their accounts. If Europe does not correct her past mistakes, great tribulations will come her way. The Lord is coming, and he has already set his foot upon the earth. I can easily prove that he has set his foot upon the earth. How? The great suffering which is constantly increasing is the proof that the Lord is coming into this world. Do you know what his decision is? Everything impure is to burn. One has never before seen the dust that will be raised on earth. You have never suspected what great cleansing is coming before the great day. Nothing will remain of the European nations and of the planning of the European diplomats. Love will destroy everything old. After that, we will begin to build. This turbulence among societies, this unrest among those who are in distress, indicates that God permeates everything. All this is linked to the eradication of the karma of humankind, which has accumulated for thousands of years. Until all old concepts, thoughts, and feelings burn in the fire of suffering, man cannot enter into the new life which is due to come now. It is because for thousands of years man was under the influence of negative forces that these forces now turn against us. People have strayed from the right path, and all misfortunes are due to that. They have deviated from many things, and for this reason have remained behind in their development. The invisible world wants to help them so that they may develop properly. The invisible world is sending workers with their hammers to work on people's homes. These misfortunes are called the unfavorable conditions of life. With their imprudent way of life, people let evil loose, and as a result, tribulations come. What we today experience and feel hanging heavily over us is our people's karma. This is a debt which is due to be paid. In Matthew chapter 24, the woman who was taken has paid her karma. She is free of any debt. On the other hand, the woman who was left has not yet eliminated her karma. And so, the present events indicate the paying off of an old debt, the eradication of karma. An acceleration in the eradication of the past errors of humankind is taking place at present. Everything that has accumulated is being eradicated. In the fall, all old leaves fall whether they want to or not. Only the buds which will produce new branches, leaves, and flowers in the coming spring remain on the trees. The beauty of life is in the changes. After a storm, the weather clears. The present events are like a storm. They will pass. Everything that occurs is for the better. We think that the present order is good, yet God is weary of the transgressions that people commit. The karma of the European nations is already ripe and creates suffering for the whole of humankind. These tribulations indicate that people need to change their way of life and apply the divine teachings. The Jews did not accept the teachings of Christ, and tribulations came upon them. The Christian nations did not apply Christ's teachings, and the present tribulations came. Troubled times are coming because people did not accept voluntarily and with an awakened consciousness the fulfillment of the will of God. These troubled times have already come. Even greater disturbances, external as well as internal, will come in order for people to awaken and fulfill the will of God, to serve God. This will be forced upon humankind. Modern culture is in its departure. The new culture is coming, and its application in life will begin. The invisible world has decided to teach modern civilized people a lesson, which they will remember for 1,000 years. The scripture says, "The wrath of God will come upon the sons of disobedience." At this point there's a footnote which reads, "See also Colossians chapter 3, verse 6. In other words, the potter will break the imperfect pots. On another occasion, the Master said, "The whole earth at present is undergoing a great change, a reconstruction. This will continue until its forces become balanced. The earth will undergo disturbances. There exist ways to predict in which region of the planet the greatest turbulence will occur. All of Europe is in turmoil. The entire world is in disarray. Be not afraid. In such times of trouble, people will come to know God, will come to understand that He is the great omniscient power which turns all things to good. You need to remain calm and peaceful and know that the times in which you live are most favorable. All of Europe will pass through unimaginable trials. Modern Europeans have built a dam on the river which one day will collapse. Therefore, whoever is above the town should search for refuge in the mountains, and whoever is at the low level should run for higher ground. I speak symbolically. People ask what will become of them in the future. Imagine that you live on the North Pole where everything is ice. Your homes are made of ice. Nowhere can you see water. I say to you that you need to take some precautionary measures because the earth will undergo great changes. The sun will start to shine very hot. It will melt the ice. The homes will fall apart, and you will start to sink. You say, "What bad fortune has come to us?" This is not a bad fortune. Simply the ice melts. The same I say to you now. If you do not correct your life, the same will happen to you. I do not say this to frighten you. It is the natural course of life. The great wave which comes now breaks up the ice and turns it into water. This is the great omniscient wave in the world that already draws near. After these events, human egotism will vanish, and people will begin to live freely and as brothers. The time has come for all people to abandon the old way of life. The God of whom I speak to you will shake the earth. Only then will you come to understand whether or not I have been speaking the truth. The scripture says that God will shake the earth and that every living creature will realize that justice, truth, virtue, love, and wisdom exist. All people everywhere need to know that God is present in the world, and people will come to know this. You say, "We are not prepared yet. When will you be ready?" You say, "The time has not come yet." Who told you that the time has not come yet? If you do not follow the divine, the earth will begin to shake. After the earth shakes, after all your guns and cannons are destroyed, you will be asked, "Will you obey?" You will say, "Yes, we will obey." When you observe all these things, you will become wiser. The entire earth will shake with such power that no trace will remain of the present culture. This will take place as based upon the great natural laws. Not one nation in Europe will remain unpunished. The present order and all human falsehoods will vanish. Christ has said, The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars of heaven will fall. At this point, the footnote reads, see also Mark chapter 13, verses 24 through 25. End of footnote. Interpreted, this means that all false human religious beliefs will lose their meaning. All worldly power will be overshadowed, will lose its hold. Therefore, the disciples should work to improve themselves, clothe themselves in armor, and put on helmets in order to withstand this wave of suffering and trials which humankind needs to endure. This armor is love. Many people are given the ability to learn only from their own mistakes. If one tries to speak to them, they will not comprehend. Such people will learn on the path of suffering. The turbulent flow, which represents the tribulations and conflicts of humankind, will abate by the end of the present century. Naturally, human souls who are more advanced will be freed from this flood sooner. The nations are healed through suffering. It is impossible to heal a nation without suffering. It is the only medicine. What needs to be corrected will be corrected. What needs to be destroyed will be destroyed. Take advantage of the short time that remains. Now is the time to begin living the new life. Evil has exhausted all the conditions for its existence. It can no longer succeed, and it is retreating. Only its dregs have remained. The light will drive away all the darkness. Owing to the present tribulations, humankind will awaken. Unless the pure is sifted from the impure, human life will be meaningless. After these events, the new will immediately gain control of the world. Good times will come. Now it is difficult. We all know that life is hard during winter and is easier when spring comes. It is also easy to live in summer and fall. At present, we are coming to the end of the winter. When the new comes, violence will no longer exist. Nothing will remain of modern weapons or of modern courts and prisons. The present order will be cast out. God is creating a new world. The old world is giving way to the new. When people enter the new life, they will converse with the angels and with God. How will they speak with God? In silence. In silence you will look at the stars, the moon, the sun, and you will be filled with gladness. God is in all of them. You will be joyful for every little stone, plant, and animal. God lives within them. You will rejoice in the soft wind, the pure spring. Within them is God. The new epoch. The world was in darkness. Humankind was caught in the madness of destruction. One could not find a way out, nor could a light be seen. Anxiety filled the hearts of all. Uncertainty was pervasive. In such moments, the Master possessed the ability to bring peace and to inspire faith. He revealed opportunities for a bright future, describing the image of renewed, reborn, and enlightened humankind. A question about the coming new epoch was asked. The Master said, "Our solar system will depart from heavier matter and enter into a less dense medium. Because of this, there will exist conditions for the manifestation of a higher consciousness for humankind. The solar system departs from the so-called 13th sphere. At the same time, the sun will enter the age of Aquarius. Now is the end of the dark epoch, the Kali Yuga. Because the earth is entering a new realm, all the old forms will change. New forms will destroy the old ones. People will not notice how they will grow and become new people. Old forms will fall away, as do the leaves in autumn. In the place of the old people, new ones will come with new ideas. The earth, after making many millions of rotations, makes one exception from its usual rotation. This departure is occurring today. New organs are forming in the human brain for the man of the future. Until they are formed, many things will remain unexplained. When a great artist begins to paint his painting, is it possible for the beauty of it to emerge immediately? No. On the first day, he will only dash colors on the canvas with his brush. Even if we do not like his painting, he would only smile. On the second day, you will see that the painting is in the same state. He will tell you, "Do not hurry with your judgment. When I finish the painting, then you can express your opinion." You hurry to express your opinion about life now, but life is not yet finished. A sister asked, "Master, when will the time come when everything will become clear to us?" We are now in this time. Today, a certain stage comes to the world, a stage of change that will give structure to the world. Today, a new type of human being, a new race of love is being formed. God leaves to people the free will to arrange the small things, yet the big ones he arranges by himself. The contemporary epoch is one of the birth of the new race of love. Every new epoch begins with a new rhythm. Today, a new rhythm to life comes. The divine makes its way everywhere. The wave, which is coming now, will elevate not only us, but all minerals, plants, and animals as well. Those who cannot be uplifted by this wave will remain for the future. Remember, there will be no other wave such as this, because in nature there is no repetition of phenomena. If you wait until the future, the conditions will be more difficult then. A new knowledge, a new culture is coming into the world. I call it the culture of divine love, wisdom, and truth. It will teach people how to live. The old life is suffering, but the new, joy. The roots are the old life, and the branches the new one. Today, we are at the end of the deprivation of love, and at the beginning of divine, unconditional love. Who awakens the human being? That one who is taking care of him. The mother awakens the child. This shows that she is taking care of him. God is the watcher for man, which shows that he is taking care of him. Those who do not awaken during the contemporary epoch will be left for other times. Find me when you search for me with all of your heart. End of footnote. This means, use the favorable conditions until I am close to you. If people were to be surprised by what the future is bringing to them, this surprise would deprive them of the opportunity to make use of the good that is coming. Therefore, in order to make use of the conditions of life, one needs to possess the knowledge that brings peace into his soul. Ignorance fills man with worry. Today, the new is coming into the world everywhere. What is the new? The form that will manifest, that only a few will understand? A new cycle is being formed. The person who can enter into it will find before himself great opportunities. If you are not ready, then you will miss the favorable conditions. The divine is coming into the world. Today is a most dangerous time. You could fall asleep and remain on the outside. The divine train is very punctual. You may be late by only a second. Therefore, your consciousness, your hearts, and your minds need to be vigilant. The one who has lived for thousands and millions of years on the earth and has been through so much suffering, does he want to miss the spring comes at its time? When spring comes, everything blossoms. The same will happen with the coming of the divine. An illuminated epoch is coming. The idea of brotherhood will come into realization. This divine spring will come gradually, not all at once. People will change without noticing. They simply will not notice how they will change. One day they will awaken, and they will find themselves in a new stage similar to the caterpillar, which enfolds into the cocoon, and once inside, transforms herself into a butterfly that cannot feed on leaves anymore. What is coming now can be called the manifestation of the divine origin in the human being. The new generation that is coming will renew the world. This means that we are in the epoch when the caterpillars will transform into butterflies. Those caterpillars that did not become butterflies yet will ask how one can live in the air. When they become butterflies, then they will learn. As caterpillars, they cannot learn. Today, life is more active. Years ago, it was necessary for 3 weeks to pass until infants could open their eyes. But today, they open their eyes and the universe is set before us. Advanced beings are descending from the invisible world. They come to transform the conditions of life. They will put order into the world. Do you know what forces these great brothers have at their disposal? The luminous beings are coming and bringing the new culture. After these events, spiritual knowledge will be applied on the physical plane. Those who work in the divine arena will be needed more than ever. The luminous brothers have besought all of humankind and have given them an ultimatum. If people do not subject themselves to the divine, they will move into action. Through the light, the advanced beings, the forces of light, fight with the forces of darkness. The light is the most powerful weapon. The forces of light have already had the upper hand over the forces of darkness. Victory is on the side of the good. Today we are engaged in great battles. When we finish traveling, we will reach the promised land. We will sit under the fig tree, and we will rest. The reason for the failure of prior cultures was that the astral world had not yet been ordered and cleansed. The new culture of the astral world will be introduced to the earth. The most mature. You need to be happy that you live in one of the greatest epochs. The following transformation will occur in the world. When the good people were in service to the bad ones were the masters. Now the opposite will occur. The bad people will serve the good ones. You want to eliminate the bad people? No. They will learn how to serve the good ones. Now the order is changing, the good will rule, and the bad will be in servitude, just as the good were the servants until now. This means that the good will take the place of the bad in the leadership of the world. The Sentience of Nature. A strong wind was blowing the fog over the mountain. We had found a sheltered camp near to a brook in the valley. Flames and smoke were curling up from a blazing fire. The surrounding thick bushes kept us sheltered. A blast of the wind would hit the fire from time to time, producing a shower of sparks. It was warm and comfortable around the fire. The kettles were boiling. The aromatic smoke from the dry junipers mixed with the scent of the tea and with the pungent fragrance of the fog. The big red kettle had been emptied a few times already. We were seated among the dry bushes warming ourselves at the fire. Then a sister told the master, "I cannot free myself from the feeling that sentient and conscious beings exist behind all this activity of nature." The master said, "Nature reflects the combined activity of sentient beings. Man needs to look at her as the sum total of intelligent forces. Behind the wind and behind the fog, other forces exist, which you need to study. Until you learn about the sentient forces which are active in nature, you will always be in discord." One of the tasks of people is to make contact with the sentient forces. If we pick up a glowing ember with tongs and place it in the fireplace, the wood will be set on fire. The ember and the tongs do not know what I am thinking, yet behind them exists a conscious hand which directs them. Behind every phenomenon, whatever it might be, is hidden a sentient force which directs it. You visit a factory and observe how the machines are moving. Are their movements conscious? Who has set them into motion? The engineer. He regulates their movements. He has taken into consideration the order of the entire factory. The machines are moving at his directive. By the same law, the sun also has a technician who has set it into motion and determines its path. The earth and the moon have their paths of movement. Scientists are looking for the causes of this movement in the physical forces. They make calculations. They create various theories. These scientists are correct, but they do not suspect that behind every physical force, a spiritual, sentient force exists which directs phenomena. Life manifests itself as one supreme consciousness. From one end to the other of life, supreme consciousness exists. There exist advanced beings who work in the sentient nature. For me, the rays of the sun represent supreme intelligence. A bud and a flower are windows through which I can see the one reality, the one sublime world, a world of beings with great intelligence. We see the material world as dead, but in reality everything is alive. The pen is moving, but there is a conscious being who moves it. The pen does not know, but the consciousness of that hand which moves it knows. There is a connection between the spiritual and the physical worlds. The physical world depends upon the spiritual. If you look at the material world as being separate, you cannot comprehend anything. But if you look at it as the result of the spiritual world, then you can comprehend it. When you realize that behind all physical phenomena, sentient forces are active, then these physical phenomena will exert another influence on you. The geological changes are not the result of mechanical causes alone. Behind every change, sentient forces are at work. The geologists are analyzing the data. If sentient forces exist behind this data, that does not interest them. The earth has been folded many times, and such folding occurs today. It will occur in the future as well. There are foldings of the floor on the Atlantic Ocean. Today, places exist where the floor is rising. According to which law does this uplifting occur? How has the folding occurred through which the Himalayas, the Alps, and the other mountain ranges were elevated? The sentient forces are the cause for this. As for those who are not acting in accordance with natural laws, nature permits them to do whatever they wish, but also has them bear the consequences. Nature has a completely different relationship with those who live in accordance with her laws, and she warns them when she is about to do something. It is said, God has revealed his mysteries to those who love him. The footnote here reads, see also 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 6 through 12. The new teaching states that nature is alive and sentient. Many will smile at that statement and say, we need to subdue nature to become its master. In this lies the adversity of people, that they think that they can subdue nature. This is impossible. The idea needs to be chased from your mind and from the minds of your children. It is not a question of subduing nature, but of studying it, to come into contact with its laws and to be in harmony with her. Many scientists attempt to overpower nature, but in reality, she is the master. Nature demands compensation for every attempt to subdue. This world war, and the footnote here reads, reference to World War II, teaches and educates people. Nature asks them, how dare you invent these explosives? I will give you such a lesson that you will remember it for years. What have people done who have peeked into the secrets of nature? They have invented explosives and airplanes in order to kill, to destroy each other. Is this the mastery of nature? This is misuse of divine forces. Instead of using them for the development of humankind, people are using them for its destruction. One day, when people pass by nature, they will not walk so presumptuously and carelessly, but will become overcautious and will ask, please, Is it allowed to pass through and only peak? Man wants to overpower nature with his human will. In no sacred book has it been written that man must subdue nature. This misinterpretation creates a deviation in science, which has brought much adversity to humankind. There will never be a time in which humankind may subdue nature. This is the error of worldly-minded people. The law of divine justice. The madness of the war was engulfing the nations. Over the earth, oppression and violence roamed at large. Everything was in disarray, confusing and ominous. How would all of this be resolved? Many distressed faces were turned toward the Master. In the afternoon, a conversation about the international situation was initiated again. The Master said, "The entire modern world is built upon a false foundation. Each nation is part of a unified organism, humankind. Each develops specific virtues and abilities. Each nation represents an element in nature, and for this reason has its own mission in the world. Each nation receives specific cosmic energies, transforms them, and passes them on to the others. For this reason, each has had its place and significance throughout the entire existence of humankind. Each nation should give birth to an idea which will benefit humankind. At present, people think that they are the only factors and that everything depends upon them. This is not true. A divine factor exists which people have overlooked. A law states, every act of statesmanship must have divine approval, that is to say, it must recognize the divine law in the world. Each nation and every person must respect divine justice in the world. In addition to this, divine justice requires that we respect each and every being, protecting those rights which it has, and providing all of the conditions for its development. Do not damage the little flower. When you read a book, would you tear out its pages? All beings in nature are like the letters on the pages of her book. You should not erase a single letter, not a single word in the book, because its meaning will be lost. Every breach of divine justice brings its consequences. This is true for the individual life as well as for the collective life. Not a single Secretary of State or statesman is exempted from this law. Do you know what repercussions a statesman who has acted unjustly can expect? When he passes on, he will incarnate as an ox, and this ox will be taken for slaughter. As soon as this ox has been slaughtered, he will enter another ox, which will be slaughtered as well, and after that he will enter a rabbit, which will also be killed. He will remember all of this very well. When he comes to earth again as a human being, he will say, "Have you been an ox which has been slaughtered, or a rabbit which has been shot?" After that, he will never violate the law of divine justice. In nature exists this law. Each nation which executes representatives of another nation and thus deprives them of their bodies must, after that, give them new ones. That is to say, the executed people must reincarnate into this nation. The Jews who were massacred by the Germans will reincarnate in Germany, and in this way, the spirit of the German nation will be radically changed. The nations need to be prepared for the application of divine laws. Intelligent statesmen are needed who will apply divine laws in the world instead of writing other laws. All nations will become more prudent because the law now comes from the opposite direction. Intelligent statesmen are needed in order that the many misfortunes, the great adversity which the nations suffer, can be avoided. And yet, because this is not happening, God now moves in the opposite direction. The nations are growing in intelligence and will not wait until their rulers become intelligent. If you follow the way of the new teaching, you will discover the method for paying off your old debts. The power of the new teaching lies in its ability to pay off all debts. If you accept the new teaching, no debt will remain unpaid. By old debts, I refer to karma. European nations suffer because of their karma. They live under its weight. When a nation listens to the ideas of the Brotherhood of Light, it prospers. If it does not, it is unable to prosper. With Russia as well, if they listen attentively to the ideas of the Brotherhood of Light, they will prosper. The trend now is toward the unity of all nations. All nations need to come together. In addition to this, the well-being of all nations, and not only that of the one, needs to be taken into consideration. A law states, "In every nation something good exists." When the nations unite, this good quality will flow through all the nations. The good qualities which the British, Germans, and Russians possess will flow into other nations, and a new vital current will be born. The bond among nations will give birth to the new man, the new human character. Nationalism will come to its end. Hatred will not be fostered among nations. Nationalism will become obsolete. Some will say, a great nation. This is not correct. Some nation desires to be great in order that it might rule over other nations. This idea belongs to the old culture. The purpose is not for one nation to be great in territory. Because all nations are represented in one organism, one great nation will look like an overly developed leg. One leg is well developed, while the other remains short. We will then have an abnormal organism. This will cause friction, suffering, and conflict. Russia is the link between East and West. She is the mediator between Europe and Asia. This is one of her assignments. What we idealize in Russia is the light, which comes from the Lodge of Light. Bulgarians need to connect with Russia and with other nations as well. Every nation needs to serve God. This is the new in the world. This is the future for every nation. That nation which does not serve God will pay. The Bulgarian nation is not sent to work for the greatness of Bulgaria, but is sent to fulfill God's will, to serve God. No longer will great Serbia exist, great Bulgaria, great Russia, great Germany, great England, and so on. No one great power will exist, and yet there will be nations which will serve God, that is to say, which will obey God's laws. Every nation which serves God will have God's blessing, will receive great abundance, and will become an advanced nation. What does it mean to serve God? To serve God means the following: to apply the principles of divine justice, to abstain from violence, to have mutual cooperation among nations, to serve, not dominate. It is not the quantity which makes a nation great, but the quality. Every nation which does not wish to serve God will be deprived of its wealth and will disappear from the earth. The greatness of a nation lies in its service to God. A nation is then strong, and no other power will be able to challenge it. It will always and under any circumstances be victorious. It will have inexhaustible bounties from God at its disposal. The advanced beings who come from above, the predecessors of humankind, will assist those nations who serve God well, but those who do not wish to serve will not be helped. No single nation will be a ruler. The one who thinks that he can be a ruler is on the wrong side. At one time, large animals lived on earth, but what happened to them? The Lord destroyed them. All the ones who want to dominate the earth at present, He will do away with and send them off to some place else. For this reason it has been said in the Scriptures, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." From Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. Imagine that 100 people owe you money. They will ruin your entire life. It is preferable that you forget about them and that you expect nothing back from them. Otherwise, if you should bring these 100 people to court, one per month, how many months will you be arguing with them? How much trouble will you have? You would receive back 1,000 leva, and still you would have to spend more. A person comes to you and tells you, "I have nothing. I cannot pay." If he has nothing, leave him alone. The Turks have a saying, "Pay not what you owe, take not what you are able to receive." This means, let there be an international reciprocal forgiveness of all debts. One brother asked, "When will the new come to be made manifest on earth?" The Master said, "By buffalo wagon one travels very slowly. It is faster by a horse wagon, faster yet by car, with even greater speed by airplane, and faster yet with the speed of light." You are asking, when will things improve? If you travel by buffalo wagon, the improvement will come very slowly. But if you move with the speed of light, in a very short while. Regarding intuition, one sister related her experience regarding precognition. Other brothers and sisters told of similar experiences as well. Almost every human being has had such experiences. The Master explained, in the past, man had precognition, but he has lost it. Now he should strive to attain that sensitivity which he had initially. Take a book which you want to read, place it upon your forehead, direct your thoughts to the sentient world, and ask with your mind the question of whether or not to read it. Intuition is an expression of the inner man. Its purpose is to correct man's objective mind. There are methods which exist for the development of intuition. This is done through experiments and through exercises. One needs to work in order to develop it. Anyone can develop his intuition and feel what will happen to him. Almost all nations have, to a certain extent, precognition. Not a single person exists who has not been warned about what will happen. An inner feeling exists in man that teaches him what he needs to do. When intuition is developed, he knows what to do, what to study, what to say, and when. To have intuition means being able to know who needs what and how to satisfy his needs. The proper conditions for intuition are given to man for free. He only needs to make the effort to develop it. Someone with a well-developed intuition will have insight into the future. The one who is led by his intuition has a pure heart on which the divine workings are written. Make the following experiment. You are at home, and you want to know if your friend, who lives on the other end of town, is at home. Instead of sending someone to check, remain calm and silent. Direct your thoughts toward him and listen attentively within. If you remain calm, without any wavering, you will know that your friend is at home. And if you check afterward, it will turn out that he has been, in fact, at home. Someone knows that a change in his life will occur in 20 years. How does he know this? He feels that his conditions will worsen or improve in 20 years, and so it does. Each one of you is capable of knowing the future. Anyone can read what is within. It is strange to have such a book within oneself and not be able to read it. When you committed the first transgression, the Spirit turned away from you, and there was no one to guide you. Intuition is the illumination of ordinary consciousness by the rays of supreme consciousness. The culture of the angels. It was one of those crystal clear days when the light reigns in space, the kind which the Master called the diamond days of nature. Every little stone, every blade of grass was encircled with an aura of radiance. The light that illuminated the rocks made them appear to be ethereal, almost weightless in their radiance. It was one of nature's holy days. We were high up on the mountain with our Master, high up in the luminous universe, and he began to speak about the angels. The whole cosmos which God has created is filled with beings who are more cultivated than we are and much more organized. Beings of the angelic hierarchy exist on the sun. They live in an ethereal world. Solid matter does not exist there in the same way as it does on Earth. Matter there is in an ethereal state. There are also advanced beings who dwell on Sirius and on other celestial bodies as well. Compared to the culture of Sirius, the culture of humankind is still in its swaddling clothes. 3 kinds of solar systems exist. Some manifest the material world. Others manifest the more sublime spiritual element. These belong to the spiritual world, the angelic world. After some time, when your spiritual eyes have begun to develop, you will be able to see all worlds. For now, like the astronomers, you can see only the material worlds. The 3rd kind of solar system is the divine world, the one which has been created from the most sublime divine element. Eventually, human beings will pass through all solar systems. Our solar system is at the border of the cosmos. One day, when your consciousness evolves and passes from one solar system into one with a more highly evolved culture than ours at present, your perception of things will be completely different. By angels, we imply those beings whose consciousness is so awakened that they shine like the sun. If you were able to visit the angels, you would see that in their world there exists a state of order unlike anything which exists on earth. People have notions about the angels, just as ants have notions about people. If you were to ask the ants where man exists, they would say that man is in another world. The ants have no knowledge of the human world. When an ant crawls over a person, it does not think, "This is a living being." Just as we can see the ants even though they do not see us, there are invisible beings who exist and can see us, although we do not see them. They work for the betterment of the world. We think that man is on the highest rung of the evolutionary ladder, but evolution is without end. Just as there are beings that exist below man, there are beings that exist above man as well. These beings evolved from the universes of the past. The angels have a completely different scale of measurement. The more that the consciousness expands, the more the field of vision broadens. For them, only one thing is possible. They cannot err. The angels have an evolved consciousness, and they do not intermingle good with evil. The angelic universe is much larger than ours. We are children, they are adults. When an angel errs, he is not accepted into heaven for 10,000 years, whereas they are much more lenient toward human beings. The angels do not know human error, because if they knew, they would be defiled. Even though the angels have passed along another path, they are nevertheless interested in our world. For them, we are the objects of study, just as the plants are objects of study for us. Some angels have passed through one mental epoch of humankind in which they stumbled and fell. When the angels were being tested, some of them remained luminous, while others darkened. Those who were conceited and prideful grew dark. The angels take an interest in humans. They have no knowledge of the divine in man because man is moving on a different path of development, as opposed to the path that they have passed along. The angels are learning from man's existence because there is something in it that is unknown to them. They have no knowledge of our experience, just as we have no knowledge of their experience, and for this reason, we are interesting to them. Millions of years ago, they were the humankind of their world. The angel possesses knowledge which is applicable in all worlds, physical, spiritual, and divine. What is the knowledge of an angel? If you were to compile all of the knowledge of humankind, all that it has accumulated over thousands of years, an angel knows all that and more. For angels to travel from one solar system to another, what kind of transportation do you think that they would need? From the sun to the closest star, an angel will travel faster than the speed of light. The sublime beings who live on the sun come down to our earth. Beings from Venus, Mars, Mercury, and others come down as well. They have the means of transportation. The light which comes from some universes takes 500 million years to get here. What a great distance! However, for an angel, this is just a stroll. Our scale of measurement is like that of a microbe. The angels travel at a speed greater than light. For them, the speed of light is like that of a buffalo wagon. If the speed of light is incomprehensible to human beings, then what about a speed much faster than that? Light travels at the greatest speed possible for the physical world, but the speeds about which we are speaking here belong to other higher worlds, to different dimensions. Angels are highly evolved beings who send forth energy throughout the entire solar system. The earth is too small a field for the power of an angel. An angel moving at the speed of light would cross the entire earth in a split second, and yet they travel at even greater speeds. Angels have bodies which are more resilient than ours. Angels can master their bodies in such a way that they can be either visible or invisible. When angels look at human life, they do not see as people see. When an angel visits you, you become inspired. But when common spirits come to you, you say, "We are stupid, we are ignorant, we are dull." An angel is a being of absolute justice and purity. Their clothing is classical in style. You need to live like an angel in order to put on angelic clothes. You need to think rightly to be able to dress in a divine robe. In the Sanskrit language, the word deva means angel. The angels are rich in love, and they work because of their love. They intuit what God's will is, that is to say, what God desires, and they fulfill it immediately. A world exists where joy is real and suffering is make-believe. This is the world of the angels, of the luminous beings. Happiness on earth is not the happiness of the spiritual world. In heaven, your joy and suffering are unknown, but they have knowledge of what the divine is. In the angelic world, you cannot speak a word that has a double meaning, nor can you say something negative. If you imply that something which is pure is impure, you will need to leave paradise. On the sun, if you want to speak an unkind word, your mouth will not open. If you want to speak a good word, then it will open readily. Sainthood is one of the highest states of a human being on earth, but the angels stand higher than the saints. There are different orders of angels. There are angels who are from the first, second, and third realms. They speak different languages. The lives of the angels who live in the second realm are hidden from those who live in the first. And similarly, the lives of those who live in the third are hidden from those who live in the second. In the angelic world, you can never pronounce a word if you do not like the object which it indicates. For example, if you like apples, you will be able to pronounce the word apple. But if you do not, you will not. You can never say, "I do not like you." It is because before you can speak the words, the one to whom you are directing the words will no longer be in front of you. Compared to the celestial angelic language, the human language is like the sound of thunder. If you go to the invisible world, to the luminous beings, you will need to know their language. Just as when someone comes to you, they will need to speak in your language. The angels know all tongues. They will speak to you in that ancient Bulgarian language which has preserved its initial purity. When angels speak amongst themselves, people become joyful, because in their speech there is something new. Light emanates from their speech. It is something very beautiful. There is a saying, when the angels are eating on the crumbs from their tables, humans are feasting. That means that nothing is ever lost. In the same way, the ants are being fed by the crumbs that fall from the table at which people eat. Nothing ever goes to waste. Angels are God's servants. There are angels of love, of wisdom, of gentleness, of temperance, and so on. Each of the virtues is represented by specific angels. The same is also true for all of the arts, music, poetry, and so on. For the beings of the divine world, neither death nor reincarnation exist. The divine life is a life of perfection. When we speak about the sun and the stars, we should look at them as the result of the activity of the sentient beings which lived 25 million, 250 million, 2,500 million years ago. You say, I am interested in the other world. It is impossible for you not to be interested, because the aspirations of the human soul originate from the higher consciousness and culture of the sentient beings from the other world. Angels are beings who have participated in the creation of the world. All of the divine powers pass through us. They are protecting us. They are helping us. They are bringing us divine blessings. It is the sentient beings who work with and direct the life processes of the plants. There is a special class of angels which works upon the plants. The whole plant kingdom is the accomplishment of the angels. The consciousness within the plants is that of the angels. For example, look how regularly the berries of a grape in a grape cluster are arranged. What perfect form it has. Through the apple, we connect with the beams of the sun. The apple is a radio, which connects us with these beings. The flowers are the children of the angels. They are the paintings of the angels, their art. Flowers should not be picked. And should you step on a flower, it is as if you are stepping on the thoughts and feelings of the angels. We are very unruly children. We have a very high opinion of ourselves. Angels work not only on the plants, but also on the whole of nature. They work on all the natural kingdoms, mineral, animal, and so on. If I say that the angels are among us, would you ask, where are they? This very light by which we see today, this is of the angels. They desire to influence our consciousness with their light. Angels are helping us. We have helped them when they have been in the evolutionary position of humankind, and our bodies were as the animals. Now they are helping us. In the future, when the animals of the present reach the human level of development, we will be helping them. At one time, when they were more like humans, the angels resembled us in certain things, but in other things not at all. The lowest existence of the angels is still higher than the most sublime existence of humans. This is the result of the intensity by which angels live. The relationship between angels and man can be compared to the relationship between man's life and that of the plants. In order for you to come in contact with one of them, the angel must come down to earth and prod you for a long time until your mind awakens and is put in motion. The angel wants to tell you that you are in the presence of a highly evolved being with whom you need to connect, that you may learn something. In the scriptures, it is said, "Speak not an empty word in the presence of an angel who is guiding you, because this will destroy your work." The footnote here reads, see also Psalm 91. This means that if you do not respect the angel who is guiding you, you will lose everything and will continuously feel discontent. The beings who have completed their development send their love to us. We need to connect with them. The angels on the sun, as well as those in the other solar system, are thinking about us. When you find yourself in darkness, when you are under attack by inferior beings, a luminous soul will come to you, will tell you something, will bring you a new idea. These luminous souls will tell you, "We will be with you." These are the helpers, the guardian angels of humankind. These advanced beings surround you, and because of them, your life can progress. You need to make every effort so that your heart and mind may become an altar, in order that you may work with these advanced beings. Man needs to study not only the physical world, but also the spiritual. He needs to be connected not only with the physical world, but the spiritual as well. He needs to maintain contact with the advanced beings who are helping him along his path. Many of our thoughts are the fruits of the thoughts of sublime beings. When a seed from one of these fruits lands in your mind, in your heart, or in your soul, it will propagate in and of itself. These are the divine ideas which have come to grow within you. They are great treasures. Even if only one of these small, precious thoughts is accepted by you every day, within 10 years, your life will have become drastically changed. If you are in good spirits, this is an indication that sublime beings are sending their sublime thoughts to you. On the other hand, there are inferior beings as well, who are sending to you their parasitic thoughts, through which they attempt to prevent you from hearing clearly. Both kinds of beings are active. When a person has a stale outlook on life, he has come into contact with beings who are on a lower level of development than him. When someone has new concepts, he has connected with beings who are on a higher level than him. If you do not connect with the luminous beings, no future awaits you. If you nourish yourself in the proper way, you will come into contact with all pure and righteous souls. The sentient beings from the invisible world are sending their good thoughts to people. But should these thoughts not find good soil for their development, they will be deflected and will return to whence they have come, to their source. This is the reason why, regardless of the great wealth, the great abundance of blessings which God is sending to earth, the majority of people are spiritually poor. If, through the efforts which you are making, you are able to communicate with the sentient beings, you will be able to improve your destiny. This means that you need to have faith in God, to trust in God. Through higher reasoning, you can come into contact with the angels, and through love with God. The beauty of life lies in one's ability to live in harmony with the advanced being. One needs to be in harmony with their thoughts. What greater music than to think as the advanced beings think? The angels who are teaching us are above us. Learn from them. Why should you learn from them? It is because they possess a greater understanding than you do. Follow the path of the angels that you may correct your errors. People today think that once they come to believe, the sciences and the arts are no longer needed. People are peculiar in their beliefs about God and in their attitudes about faith. Is it not God, the great God of wisdom, the great cause, who has created all the worlds? Is it not God who has created the angels? We need to come to know that there is another science which exists, another music, another poetry, another art. There exist other worlds as well, other forms of life, all 1,000 times more beautiful than ours. There is much to learn. You live in a sentient world. The sublime beings who participated in the creation of the world are still working upon your consciousness and want you to learn, to come to understand things. The real wealth of human beings is the good within them. As it is with the good, so it is with love, wisdom, and truth. They are inseparable. No one can say, This love, this wisdom, this knowledge is mine. We have the ability to comprehend the thoughts of the sublime beings. Work upon yourselves that you may develop your receptivity, through which you may come into contact with more advanced beings. The one who has experiences and personal encounters with worlds beyond, should he become ill, he will be able to overcome his illness more easily. His angels from the invisible world will visit him, will take away his pain, suffering, and discouragement. The sentient powers are very active in the world. The benevolent beings come from above or from the right side, whereas interior beings from below or from the left. When you are passing through a trial, pray, and the luminous beings will come to help you. There is a law which states, no act performed by a sublime being exists in which the loss is greater than the benefit. If the heart of someone from the earth is filled with sublime and noble feelings, it is sufficient for him to think merely about an angel, and the angel will be with him. Without these feelings in his heart, no angel will leave his world to help him. When I look at you, I can see what kind of relationship the more advanced beings have with you. This is because you are like a candle which has been illuminated. From the intensity of the light of your candle, of your mind, a determination can be made regarding the essence of your candle, as well as the quality of the burning which is taking place within you, whether it be full or only partial. The sublime beings utilize this fire, that is to say, the energy of your mind, for their work. This means when you endeavor to love, the sublime beings use this energy for their work. There are angels who are guiding the nations. The angel is a very real being with both a body and a mind. Man thinks and the animal thinks, but what a difference between man and animal. Sometimes sentient, advanced beings incarnate within people for 10, 15, or even 20 years and work. This is more economical and saves time in comparison to being born. In this sense, the genius is a collective being. One or more advanced beings has fallen in love with him, has come to dwell within him and to manifest through him. Those people within whom an angel comes to dwell we call geniuses or saints. Within each great soul, a great spirit lives. A musician in the true sense of the word can only be that one with whom an angel lives. All things in the world which are sublime are because of the angels. People's consciousness needs to be awakened, that they may be able to connect with the consciousness of the sublime sentient beings and learn from them. I believe not in enthusiasm, but rather in inspiration. Enthusiasm lasts for a day and a half, whereas inspiration endures forever. Whatever one seeks to do, one should have inspiration. In the future, the world will be aglow, just as it was illuminated in earlier times. There is a saying in Bulgarian, "To wherever it did flow, it will flow again." It is the advanced beings who order our lives. They are investing something new into your account. It is important for you that everything which they have imparted to you increases. It is important that you invest something in their account as well. How? Through your gratitude to them. Be thankful for your friends from above who are helping you. All the sublime beings gather around those who have sublime aspirations. The songs of the Master. The Master devoted exceptional attention to music. His songs accompanied everything we were doing. We were always singing. The day started with music and ended with music. Each lecture of the Master began and ended with singing. For the Master, music was a condition as essential as the air. We all sang together, both in unison and as a chorus. At some special events, soloists would perform some of the songs of the Master. The master studied music constantly. He studied the tones, scales, scale modulations, rhythms, and their effects, and power of expression. He pointed out their meaning to us, as well as their significance in the sublime life. Through the language of music, he was able to interpret the sublime life for us. We would all be filled with joy when he would bring to class his violin, and we would wonder what he would play for us that day. He would open up the big double case and take out his beautiful shining instrument, wrapped in soft velvet. He would clean it carefully with his handkerchief and then take out the bow. Each movement of the master was beautiful, refined, and filled with attention. The master's playing was gentle and soft, lacking in technical effects, yet displaying perfect technique, ease, purity, and expression. His music was awakening images and evoking deep feelings. Often he improvised at length melodies and variations which flowed freely, naturally, like a wellspring. Unfortunately, this musical treasure remained unrecorded. In our presence, the master would create a song from his text, or he would start with a small motif, 1 or 2 measures only. And then, in a simple way, a melody was created, a new song was born. At other times, prompted by the emotional state of a disciple, he would create a short melody in response to it, which had the wondrous power of transforming that state. The master usually gave us complete songs, perfect musical works, to which nothing could be added or taken away. He presented the new songs in class or in the presence of a group of disciples from whom all the others would later learn them. The master related to each new song with a great love, as to a dear, long-awaited guest. This love was carried over to the disciple as well. Such is the law. The master sang with inspiration. His voice was deep, had great insight, and was rich with inexhaustible possibilities. He could convey all nuances of feeling and thought. Standing upright with closed eyes, the master accompanied his singing at all times with beautiful, expressive gestures. He was an entrancing performer. The master encouraged all of his disciples to play instruments and sing. There was hardly one who did not play an instrument or sing. The master was surrounded by musicians. He worked constantly with them. During the last years, he appointed some of them to regular work schedule. He passed down to them his last songs, those which he had kept to himself for a long time, the sacred songs. He sang them or played them on his violin, showing the musicians how to perform the songs until they learned them well enough to write them down, and afterward passed them on to the rest of the disciples. At the same time, he gave many concerts in which he presented songs that were rich in melody and modulation. These were examples of the new music. In some conversation he explained the laws which were their foundation. Music was a favorite subject of our conversations with the master. The master told us, our song, and at this point there's a footnote. The songs mentioned in the lecture are published in the book Song of the Master, 2006. End of footnote. The songs of the Brotherhood of Light will not change even after thousands of years. For example, the song The Bright Day or The Rising Sun. There will always be a bright day, and the sun will always rise. The song I Will Rejuvenate is not invented. Its motif exists in nature. The beings in the divine world live it. One sister asked, how are they living this motif? The master answered, while they are living, they are singing it. Our songs exist in the world above and are brought down to us from there. When we sing them, the sublime beings come to help us. Through our songs, we go to them, and they come to us. Each of our songs is brought down from above, and corresponds to a song which exists in the divine world. Each of our songs is created according to the plan of the sublime scales, which comes from above. And if we hear, while singing or playing, are in accordance with the real essence of these heavenly songs, which are brought from above, then we will receive the blessing of the divine world. When one sings with purity, love, and total harmony among the mind, heart, and will, all three are turned toward the divine. Then at this very moment, we will connect with the rhythm of the heavenly songs from which ours are. Into these operas, our songs will be interwoven. All of our songs are visionary, and they carry within them fulfillment. All of the words in them have but a single meaning. We adorn these songs with images. The young, beautiful maiden who is spoken of in one of our songs is the sublime thought, the sublime idea, and the divine in man. We will present new thought to humankind through the images of the young maiden and the young lad. It is not the past which is being spoken of in our songs, but the present. Our songs are varied in both the major and minor scales. Some of them start in the minor and finish in the major, and others vice versa. The song, "The Sun is Rising," is in the major, while Mahar Benu starts in the minor and finishes in the major. The minor indicates the going out to achieve some gain, whereas the major is the returning with that gain, the returning from the battlefield. The song, "In all of life's conditions, never lose your peace," is meant for solo singing and needs to be performed with ardor. The same law holds true for music as it does for precious stones. Some stone is quivering with anticipation. The sun tries to give something to every blade of grass, to every little stone, and they all rejoice in it. And yet you sing this song in an ordinary way without expressing all of this. The song, "March Forward for Glory to Fight for the King of Zion," I gave in 1888 in the village Hotansa. There's a footnote here about Hotansa, a village in Bulgaria where Peter Dunov was employed as a school teacher. End of footnote. Before going abroad, there are still more songs which I have given, but I have not yet performed. The song of the prodigal son I have played only a few times. The master remained silent for a while, and then sang a new song. "At the dawn of my life, I awakened early and met the rising sun. It brought me the joyful tidings that I am loved by God." Then the master continued, "This song is very profound, sacred, and mystical, and therefore it is not for a broad circle." After that, the master played another new song on his violin and said, "This song means the following." After that came a classicist who was playing for me when I was taking classes from him. It is necessary to form a small orchestra at Izgrev. We need to give a concert of the new music in Sofia. An idea regarding the introduction of our songs into the schools arose. One brother mentioned that he is preparing a collection of children's songs for publishing. The master said, "One needs to understand how to teach our songs to the children, which methods to use. It is necessary to awaken in people the musical states, that they may then create beautiful music. The method for teaching songs to the children is as follows. First, through preparation, nature needs to be brought to life for the children, that they may begin to sing. How can a child sing about the river, the wellspring, the cherry, and so on, when all of these have not become alive for him? They need to become living, real." The colors. Every living being, every little flower, every fruit tree bears certain forces of nature. When you love and cultivate these forces, you will perceive what they are offering. Colors are the greatest blessing. This is God's abundance, the gate through which all bounties come from the invisible world. The white hyacinth is a symbol of generosity. It has come to earth to learn generosity, to manifest its generosity, to learn the ways of generosity, and to give. The carnation is a symbol of health. A person who desires to be healthy, resilient, and not be subject to any disease should grow carnations, no matter what color they are. The rose imparts tenderness. If you desire to possess tenderness, grow roses. Each flower imparts different virtues. The tulip teaches people the rules for giving, how one should give. The person who desires strength needs to learn from the purple, the violet color. It is a manifestation of strength. The color blue brings faith, yellow, wisdom, and green, liveliness and health. Orange brings individuality, and red, vitality and agility. Man needs to look at the sky, and the color of hatred in the human aura manifests as darkness. Nature heals through colors. Those who have the imagination and sensibility toward colors can rejuvenate themselves through them, and not only through the colors of the physical world, but also through those of the mental world. This occurs as follows. Concentrate and visualize a certain color, red, for example, in its purest form. Immerse yourself in it, imagining that a shower of red light is pouring over you and that you are suffused with it. Through the color red, you will receive vitality. You can do the same with the color yellow. It rejuvenates the thoughts, the mind. The color blue brings tranquility and peace. For example, if you are agitated, disheartened, troubled, gaze upon the blue of the sky, and it will bring peace and tranquility within you. Through the color orange, you will receive a positive self-confidence and self-reliance. Through the green, relaxation and growth. And through the violet, spiritual power and strength. The 7 colors exist in the world, while in the sublime, growth and development, meaning that one works on his perfection while he is helping his neighbor. The color yellow in its lowest nuances signifies intellect used for personal goals. The color violet in its lowest nuances signifies power used solely in one's own interest. In its sublime nuances, the color yellow signifies intelligence used in the service of humankind, and the color violet, power used for the benefit of others.